This is the river Pegnitz. It runs through the inner city of Nuremberg, a town of 500,000 inhabitants located in northern Bavaria. To protect the medieval city center from flooding, the Pegnitz was accumulated upstream and the lake Wöhrder See was formed. The lower part was built from 1968 to 1972. Afterwards, a sand catcher was installed in front of the inflow point. Finally, the upper part was built and finalized in 1981. All in all, it covers 52 hectares, spans 2.5 kilometers, and reaches a width of 100 to 200 meters. Due to its location within a highly settled area, visitors as well as people living nearby use it to gain recreation and come here in their free time. They go for jogging or cycle on the walking and bike lanes surrounding the lake. Adjacent green spaces serve as sunbathing areas in summertime. It is crossed by 2 car traffic bridges, a retirement home joins the northern edge, and a paddle boat rental is located on the southern side. Hence, the lake is exposed to various human impacts. Despite these impacts, the lake is home for a variety of plants and animals. Most of the current plantings were placed after finishing the construction works, for instance white and black poplar, willows, black elder and field maple. In the springtime, especially the blossoms of grape hyacinth, piewort, grass lily and red dead nettle color the lake's edges. As the lake hardly ever freezes up, it provides overwinter survival areas for many water birds like the black-headed gull, the common pochard, the tufted duck, the mute swan and the Erusian coot. Fish like northern pike and catfish, as well as the common toad and odonata, live at the lake. Also mammals like the muskrat and brown rat can be found nearby. Even the beaver settled recently and is especially protected as a threatened species. The main inflow is water coming from the river Pegnitz upstream. The ecological state of this water is only moderate. However, the chemical state is classified as good. While the river's flow appears quite fast, hardly any movement can be seen on the lake. As the water body broadens suddenly, the flow is slowed down a lot at this point. This is why the lake's main problem is sanding. Sediment that is carried from the river accumulates in the lake due to little flow velocity. This results in decreasing water depth. In the 80s, the lake was mostly 3 meters deep. Today, it reaches hardly 50 centimeters in some parts. Despite the sand catching established at the inflow point, the lake is only 1.9 meters deep in its center. The catching is cleared every 4 years by removing 30,000 cubic meters of mud. But still, the sanding cannot be prevented and provides a perfect base for algae growth. The propagation of the algae is worsened by a high water phosphate concentration caused by sewage works and agriculture further upstream. Also, pedestrians feeding the birds contribute to the eutrophication. Especially in the marginal areas, the exchange of water decreases to an extent that the water temperature frequently rises significantly. As in addition, the growing algae reduce the oxygen content, perfect conditions for propagation of pathogens are created. In particular in summertime, people walking by often feel bothered by smell of decay. The ecological quality of the lake is furthermore diminished by a poor possibility for fish to pass the barriers. The subsequent prohibition of natural fish migration impairs the cross-linking of biotopes. The river Pegnitz and the Wöhrder See are classified as first-order water bodies. Therefore, the state Bavaria is in charge for them, while the city of Nuremberg has to care for the surrounding land area. Due to the fact that current measures will not prevent the sanding, the former Bavarian Minister of Environment and the Water Management Office established an elaborate project comprising a budget of 10 million euros to restore the lake. The restoration project is called Water World Wöhrder See. It includes different measures, some of them are already under construction, some are still in the planning phase. The project has three main objectives: to ensure a permanent flood protection, to improve the lake's ecological status, and to provide more recreational activities for visitors and people living nearby. The flood protection is preserved by protecting the lake itself from disappearing. This is why most of the measures aim the inhibition of landing. I asked Klaus Winkelmeier, the project director at the Water Management Office, which of the measures will prevent the landing.
Wir wollen jetzt den See so umgestalten, dass die Fließgeschwindigkeit zukünftig erhöht wird und die Feinteile weiter transportiert werden. Wir machen das mit Einbauten in Form von Inseln, die Sie hier markiert sehen, von Leitdämmen, von Vorschüttungen, von Leitwerken und erhöhen damit die Fließgeschwindigkeit.
The Technical University of Munich has been commissioned to carry out computer simulations about the lake's flow patterns and possibilities to fasten them. This study served as base for the plannings. The Water Management Office subdivided the lake into the upper and lower part. The upper part will partly become landed and islands will occur. This will reduce the water surface and accelerate the water flow. It is supposed to become the ecozone of the lake. The lower part will remain as a lake. It is supposed to become the recreational zone. Here as well, the planned installations aim to narrow down the cross-section. A sand beach on the northern side will shift the lake's edge inwards. On the southern side, a bay will be established to further reduce the amplitude. Finally, an artificial subsurface reef and leading structures made of steel and built below a new pedestrian walk will support the water flows. The second objective is to maintain and further improve the ecological quality. This is why the Water Management Office works in close connection to nature conservation organizations and biologists.
Wir werden die Uferstrukturen aufwerten, strukturreiche Ufer schaffen, sprich alles, was in und am Wasser lebt, wird davon profitieren. Wir werden im großen Stil den oberen Wöhrder See als sogenannte Ökozone ausbilden. Stichwort wäre hier Biodiversität. Die Vogelwelt könnte hier beispielsweise stark profitieren.
The islands in the upper lake will serve as additional living space for water birds and other species. The high algae growth will be reduced by an improved exchange of water. Conditions for pathogens are diminished and the water quality will rise. A biological filter planned to be installed at the bay is supposed to clear the water. It might even become clean enough for people to swim in this part of the lake. A fish ladder will be installed at one of the dams to provide better possibilities for fish migration. The agencies are confident that the ecological improvement of the lake will contribute to make the river comply with the objectives of the Water Framework Directive on time. Third, the recreational value will be improved by the sand beach, the artificial bay, the new pedestrian walk, and the overall ecological improvement. A nature experience path in the upper part will make the lake more attractive for visitors. What has happened so far? When the project started in 2011, the first action was to launch a mowing boat. Since then, it frequently cuts the algae while driving up and down the lake to clear the water. In May 2012, the first part of the new pedestrian walk has been installed. Soon they will start to dig up mud in the lower part of the lake. All the other actions are still in the planning phase. Especially the shared responsibility of the state and the city slows down the planning processes. However, they plan to be finished in 2014. In the beginning of the planning phase, there were some opponents to the project. The nature conservation organization Bund Naturschutz claimed the agency's solution will not entirely solve the problem. In their opinion, it made economically and ecologically more sense to let the whole lake being landed. They suggested to retreat the area and let it become a meadowy landscape. I asked Klaus Winkelmeier why this is not an option.
Das hat zum einen primär auch finanzielle Gründe. Wenn man den See verlanden lassen würde, dann käme man dennoch nicht umhin, den Schlamm, der sich bisher angesammelt hat, herauszunehmen und ihn mit normalem sandigem Material wieder aufzufüllen oder anzufüllen. Zum Zweiten ist der See natürlich aus Sicht der Stadt Nürnberg, da sprechen die Bürger der Stadt Nürnberg an, eine liebgewordene Einrichtung und die Stadt Nürnberg wünscht ganz dringend, dass wir den See erhalten. Wir haben uns deswegen zu einer quasi Mischlösung entschlossen. Der obere Bereich kann teilweise verlanden, wird also eine Ökozone. Ich denke, das ist ein Kompromiss, mit dem alle leben können.
In conclusion, I think the project is a well thought through plan and will definitely contribute to improve the living quality of the city, especially the way that public participation was encouraged by providing an info point and an internet page is worth mentioning. But whether the improvements will really be sustainable, long-lasting and worth the effort can first be seen in some years.